Wait. Okay, there we go. There you go. Take it away, Eileen.
Yay! Okay. Hi, everyone. I think most of you know who I am, but my name is Eileen. I serve as the Policy and Program Manager with Ignite. I'm super excited that you all are able to join us today for this important and really timely webinar on the 2020 census. Yay! Today, you'll learn a little bit about why it's critical that we have an accurate count, what's at stake, how you can get involved, and the tools that will get you there. We're also really fortunate to be able to partner with Community Connect Labs to tackle this effort. But before I introduce our expert, I wanted to note that if you have any questions, we will be taking them at the end, so feel free to type them out into the chat box and Sarah will queue them up at the end. So without further ado, let me introduce our speaker and presenter, Stephanie Kim, who is the Director of Government and Nonprofit Programs with Community Connect Labs. Stephanie?
Great, thanks Eileen, and thank you and Sarah for having me on to talk to you all. So I don't know, some of you might have seen me present at the recent conference. I did a little presentation about the importance of census, but for those of you who are seeing me for the first time, I'm the Director of Government and Nonprofit Programs for a nonprofit technology company based in the San Francisco Bay Area called Community Connect Labs. And we develop technology tools to help communities get counted for the census. And we were able to receive some support to partner with Ignite and see how we can activate this really incredible group of young women across the state of California and see how we could help ensure a complete and accurate count in the census. So I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet. I could talk forever about census because I'm super nerdy like that, but I'm here to give the basic information that you need to know and then some actionable items for how you can get involved. So like Eileen mentioned, we're just going to talk a little bit about census background. I want to focus on field staff recruitment. So this is the Census Bureau's need to recruit people to work as census workers, and they play a really important role in ensuring a complete count. And we think that you all would be really great candidates for that. And so that's what I want to focus my conversation on. We developed a little tool and a program for you to participate in. And at the end of this conversation, you could ask questions and then see what else you could do to get involved. So what's at stake for census? The way that the state of California likes to sum it up is money and power. When you're thinking about how electoral college lines are drawn for elections, how many people are representing you in the House of Representatives, how district lines are drawn for voting, how much federal funding comes in for roads, schools, libraries, and parks. All of that is determined by the census count. And that census count happens once every 10 years. So in the state of California, each person who is not counted in the census will cost the state almost $2,000 in federal funding per year for the next 10 years. So that's a lot of money. And if you're thinking about political representation, like you think the next election is big, the next census after 2020 won't happen until 2.5 presidential elections later. So this does not get as much hype as elections, but it definitely should because the implications are so huge. So what I want to show you here, this is a snapshot of the funding that comes into the state of California. The state gets $76 billion a year from the federal government. And as you can see, a huge chunk of it goes to healthcare programs, programs that impact young people. So thinking about, again, how the census, it's really important to count everyone, and who is likely to be counted and who's likely not to be counted is our big challenge for this next year. People who are historically limited English speaking or low income, maybe they're immigrants, maybe they're afraid of the citizenship question. These are all things that are barriers to ensuring an accurate count. And so it's really up to community organizations and people like us to go out and tell our neighbors, like, this is really important and this is how we can participate. So the census this time around, it's a big challenge for a number of reasons. So if you think back to 2010, which was the last census, do you remember like all the other stuff that was going on in 2010? I think we were like iPhone 4, maybe? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But many, many iPhones ago, I think Netflix, you can still order like a DVD or a Blu-ray that comes in the mail. It was a very analog age compared to where we are now. So since that's the case, the census has also sort of digitized and moved on from that. So the 2020 census will actually be an online census. You're going to receive a card in the mail, or your parents will receive one. Your school is going to be contacted by the Census Bureau and asked you to fill it out online. Already there, the barriers, you can think about the people who might not have internet access at home. That might be a big barrier. People who don't speak certain languages, or maybe they're not good at using the computer. Maybe you have, your grandparents who are living by themselves in a home. They're likely to get undercounted too because of this online census. But there are other things involved as well. They cut the budget for the census. They have all this untested new technology. They have, it's this current political climate where, a lot of people don't trust the government. So they're afraid of participating in this kind of thing. So the Census Bureau themselves has projected that the self-response rate, so the number of people who would participate in the census on their own in the hardest to count communities, could be as low as 60%. So then what do you do to bring in the other 40% of the count? So that's when census enumerators come in. So I don't know if any of you will remember this, but if you asked your parents, back in 2010, some of them who didn't fill out the census on paper, they got a knock on the door. And the person who was at the door was a Census Bureau employee. They say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from the Census Bureau. I'm here to help you answer the census in person." So they interview them. Now, enumerators have historically been kind of viewed as the bogeyman, because they're like, oh, it's a government worker showing up on your doorstep. Don't open your door to them. But again, it's really important to participate. So we were thinking, okay, what if all these enumerators were our people? They are people who are from our communities. They reflect the people they're counting. They speak the local languages. That's going to instill a lot more trust in the community and hopefully ensure a more accurate count. And so the Census Bureau needs to hire 55,000 people in the state of California to do this. They need to hire 500,000 people nationally. California has historically been undercounted as a state. So this is why they're hiring so many people here. So they're looking for people who could speak multiple languages: Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Tagalog. They need people who can work part-time. It's a flexible schedule. And in fact, let me skip over to this slide here. It's part-time, it's flexible. In places across California, they're paying $15 to $30 an hour. So if you're living in San Jose, that's $30, Oakland, $25, LA, $21, Fresno, $16. This is a really cool part-time job opportunity. You can put it on your resume, and you can set your own schedule. Your app will flash up sort of in the way if you're driving for Uber or something like that, to see when you're available. There's no education level requirement, and they, again, really want people who speak multiple languages. So we thought, hey, this would be a really great opportunity for the young women in Ignite's network, but also for your families and your network, your friends. Again, the census is having a hard time recruiting for these folks, and they've been asking for help recruiting people. So here's where we're trying to step in and help. If you want to apply for a census job, you could go to this website right now. It's 2020census.gov/jobs, and you'll see the screen where you can create an account. Sarah was just sharing with me before this webinar that she went on and tried to apply. So all of you should just go ahead and put your hat into the ring now. And then from there, you'll see that there is a 8-step process to apply. It's really long. So you first got to, hear about the opportunity. Some of you might not have learned about it until signing on to this webinar. Then you have to complete an online application. Then you have to complete an online assessment. And then you do an interview. Then there's a background check. You fill out some forms. You do some training, which is paid. And then you do the work. And then, for a lot of candidates who work for the census, they're eligible for benefits afterwards. So this is a pretty long process. Here's the timeline. Right now, the census is recruiting what they're called address listers. So these address listers are people who are going to go and they're looking at a list of addresses and they're verifying that these housing units are still there. So they do address listing in places where maybe there was a wildfire and the housing stock has changed. So those folks, you apply now, you're going to be trained in July or August, and then August through October is when you work part-time. And then census enumerators or census takers, that's recruitment is going to happen in the fall, and you'll work next year for that. So you'll see, it's the same exact online application. You just submit it once, and you're being considered for both of these jobs. And as you can see, it's the same training, it's the same process to follow, the same pay. The issue just is that it's a really long process and it's kind of complicated. We've been doing a lot of research, speaking with students, speaking with career coaches and asking them what is difficult about this and how could we create a tool that would make things easier for you all to apply. So that's where my company's work comes in. We've developed a text message tool that sort of works as a virtual job search coach or a job coach, and it can help you apply for census jobs. So you could imagine that you have on campus maybe like a recruitment event, or you have like a little workshop or a seminar about the census. You share with them the information that I just shared, and then you could help people apply by just having them text into this tool. So once people text in, they're going to receive information about the opportunity. They're going to be screened to see if they qualify for the job. And then they're going to receive some tips via email, little videos, 2 to 3 minute videos in English and Spanish. And lastly, they're going to receive little reminders. So for instance, when the census starts calling people to interview them, some people might have forgotten that they applied. So we're going to go ahead and send little nudges to them to do that. And in fact, here's what it looks like here. So this is just a screenshot of my phone. Maybe I saw a flyer on campus, maybe I saw it on the job board, on a bulletin, maybe they passed it out in the club that I'm participating in, and I see the words, just text jobs to this phone number, and this tool will take care of the rest. So it's an automated tool. It's anonymous. You can see here that the first question is asking permission to text me, so I'll say yes. We don't want this to feel like those, random political messaging tools where you're like, who are you and how'd you get my number? This is everyone texting in on their own and choosing to participate. We just ask for your zip code so we know where you are and what resources we could connect you with. And then we also asked you for what languages that you speak. And then lastly, we asked you for the one qualification for the job, which is, are you a US citizen 18 years or older? This could be a really scary question, and we want to respect people's privacy. So we framed it as a 2-part question where you have to qualify for both in order to say yes. If you don't meet one of those qualifications and you say no, we don't know why. So this will keep it a safe question, and it'll also be anonymous throughout. As you can see here, at no point are we asking you for your name. So for people who are likely eligible to apply, they'll receive these videos. We'll send some information via email, and then we'll send little follow-ups. So you'll get a text in a week saying, "Hi, it's Ignite checking in. Have you completed your application? If not, how can we help you?" So imagine again, this is something that you could use to apply for jobs, but also your fellow classmates and your friends, and also your family if you're looking for part-time work. So all of this I've shared with you, and you're probably thinking, okay, great. How do I get access to this? How do I get involved? Or at least I'm hoping you're thinking that, because that's what I have for you here. So we really think that this is a great opportunity for campuses to get activated around census. This is just the first of many things to do for census outreach, but we're starting to build momentum by helping to recruit people and fill them in this pipeline, because we know that's one of the biggest challenges to achieving a complete count. So what we are preparing for you are these little flyers, and each campus participating is going to have their own dedicated phone number, and you'll get a flyer in English and in Spanish. There are 2 things that we would just ask you to do. It's super easy. The first thing is to just advertise these flyers to your chapters, to your network. So you put them in your newsletters, post it on social media, send it out maybe in an email, pass it out during lunch, just get the word out that this texting program exists. And again, the call to action, every piece of information is on the flyer, and then people just have to text in. And then the other activity that you could do, and this is optional, like if you don't have time, that's totally fine, but we found that this does work, is that if you host an info session and just let people know, sort of just, again, share all the information that I just shared with you, and then let them know that this resource exists and invite them to text into it. So that's really all that it takes to participate in this program. And again, address lister recruitment's happening right now. So for next steps, all we are asking is that all of you let Eileen know by this Friday if you're interested in participating and bringing your campus on board. And so once that happens, I'm going to be working with Eileen to get a personalized flyer for you with your dedicated phone number. I'm going to prepare a little toolkit for you so you can read through it. It has information about census jobs, It has information about how the tool works, and it also has some sample social media blurbs. So honestly, I think you all are better at that stuff than me. So just take it and use it if you want it, but you don't have to. I won't get offended. And then again, remember, peak recruitment's happening right now through July. So this is a really great time to jump on that. And then we could talk about afterwards how this all worked, what worked and what didn't work, what could have gone better. And as we're thinking about doing this for enumerators, which is going to be a much bigger hiring push, we could try and experiment with other things. So that's basically all that I have to share. Let's open it up for questions, and then we could keep this short and sweet and do the rest of the follow-up via email.
Okay. Thank you so much, Stephanie. That was great. I'm so excited, and I am applying. I'm going to finish my application. Okay, so let's go to, we have lots of questions. Let's start at the first one. Okay, when you say connect to local resources, are you referring to a national database or a California-based geolocation tool?
Wow, whoever asked that is really sharp and caught that.
Yeah, I totally don't know what any of that means except for California.
So this is the one part that I am actually going to edit out of this tool. I actually don't think it's necessary for Ignite because most of your network is already connected to a local. So local resources for application support usually refers to a computer lab. Oftentimes the barrier that we found with applicants is that they don't have access to a computer. So that's one thing. For application support, these are usually folks going to a job training nonprofit, or the census also offers support over the phone. So given that, again, Ignite has these campus networks, we're actually going to remove this option and direct people to just go to their school computer lab. And then if they have further questions, they could contact the census hotline for jobs. We're going to try that out, see what works, see what doesn't work, and then expand it later and adjust it as necessary.
And then is this opportunity available in New York and New Jersey?
Right now, no. So this is something that we're piloting in the state of California. That's what my company currently has funding for. But we know Ignite is national. You are a powerful, strong network, and we want to work with all of y'all. So what I'm hoping to do is just knock this California pilot out of the park and just go to funders together, and we could say, hey, this is something that we could use to really support women across the country and their communities. So we have not forgotten about you. We're definitely thinking about you. This is just the first stage of hopefully a multi-step program that we're rolling out. So right now, just keeping it within California.
But they can still apply to the different jobs that are available in their state.
Yeah. Yes. Go to the website, throw your application. I applied too. Just get a part-time job over the summer and, see how else you could get your family and friends involved. It's just the tool, the text messaging tool right now is what we're doing in California. The census is hiring nationally and their job application is currently open for everyone.
Yeah. And this one, I think kind of addresses it, but I just want to ask it anyway. If they live in Texas and go to school in Massachusetts, are they eligible to still do work in a different state?
That's a great question. So when you're thinking about when the census is sending people out to do work, let's use enumeration as an example. So it's April 2020, and you're probably all at school. They want you to enumerate the area that you live because they assume that that's where you know better. So enumeration takes place from April to July, I believe, which means, actually that's something I should ask the Census Bureau because July, a lot of people will be, probably in their home states, but April, they're probably, at school, and those could be different places. That's a really great question.
We'll get back to you, Lorena.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, for me, since I've been out of school for a really long time now, I live in one place between April and July. I put my home address in the application, and they draw a little radius around my address. They actually ask me for my cross streets. They draw a little radius around it, and then if they see that in my neighborhood, in that area, there needs to be people knocking on the doors, that's when they're going to call me to go out. So it really depends. Like, we're not going to know until the actual census is happening what the needs are, and what the geographies are. So it's just important to keep your address up to date so that when they run their algorithm and, call up employees, you're in the right place.
Thank you. Nancy would like to host an info session.
Great.
How can she do that?
Yeah, so Nancy, what you would do is let Eileen know that you want to get involved. I'm going to, get the information about your campus and create a little flyer for you. And then I'm also going to provide, once Eileen's going to share all of this, everything you need will be in a Dropbox folder. So it'll have like your toolkit, it'll have this slide deck, maybe you could use certain slides from it, and just go and organize your info session and do your awesome thing, and then get the word out.
And I know for our college leaders, ladies, our programs team is going to do a little, I think this is really great, but we're also going to do kind of the preview to this nationally of just why the census matters. And so you all can add those different pieces too. And we'll do some training around that in probably, I think, July or August. And then I think we just answered this question. What does it look like for those who are home for the summer but move back to school in the semester?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm going to find out. The Census Bureau should figure it out. There are a lot of college students and who are interested in this type of opportunity. It really depends on when they're planning on having you work. So again, address listers, you're going to be working between August and October. I would actually put your school address if you're going to be applying as an address lister. So let's plan on that. Put your school address for address listers, and then for census enumerators, the bulk of the enumeration is going to happen in May. And that's like finals month for a lot of you, right?
Yeah.
So the good news is you set your own schedule. So, you set it the night before on your app. You say, like, tomorrow I have a test from 4 to 6, so I can enumerate from 6 to 8. And they really want people to actually enumerate during evenings and weekends because that's when people are home. So if May is going to be the majority of the enumeration, let's plan on putting your school address there too.
Yeah. And they can update that, right, throughout the year?
Yeah. Yes.
Because we have a lot of students moving from different locations all the time.
Right.
I know that you have to be a citizen for this. And then the other question here is, does this job require a driver's license?
So going back to the citizenship requirement, that is the current requirement. In 2010, they issued waivers when they realized that they needed to hire people who spoke certain languages and they didn't have enough candidates. So at some point, they might say, hey, we're really short on people who speak Arabic. So even if you're not a citizen, if you have a green card, if you speak Arabic, please apply, we'll hire you. So we're anticipating again next year that we're going to see the same thing happen. So even if you are not a citizen or someone you know is not a citizen, obviously don't broadcast to the world. That's not necessary. You don't want to give more information than needed, but just keep an eye out because there might be an opportunity for them as well. Driver's license. So this depends on where you live and where you're going to enumerate. If you're living in the Central Valley, California, then it's probably the best way to get around is by car. It's a pretty dispersed rural area, and they're going to send you the radius where they draw around your house is going to be much bigger. So they're going to send you to drive around places. If you're living in New York City, like in Manhattan, that kind of place, you don't need a car to go around. You're going to be enumerating apartment buildings probably. So you just take the subway. So it really depends on the location where you're at.
And then Nancy would really like us to get to Texas soon. Nancy, we're working on it. But you can apply to the national website now and encourage your college members to do so, and still obviously host these info sessions leading up to the fall. And we will do our best to get some more funding to be able to use the other tools in those particular cities.
Yeah, in fact, let Eileen know anyway if you're interested and not in California, because we're going to turn right around and tell other folks, look, we have people who are ready to go and really wanting this.
Yeah. I think those were all of our questions. Just going to double check. Yep, I think that was it.
Excellent. This was super short and sweet. I love that. very efficient group and really great questions too. So again, next steps to reiterate, just let Eileen know by Friday if you want to bring this program to your campus. I'm going to be putting together that toolkit and sharing it with Eileen, who will then be sharing it with you. And then just, if you especially want to get in on the address lister recruitment game, like, the time is now. Not the end of the world, though, if we can't get together by then. And again, even if you're not hired as an address lister right now, it's the same application and the same portal, which means once your application's in there, you will also be considered as an enumerator. So it's never too late or too early to apply.
Awesome. So anything else, folks? No? Okay. We good?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Right. Good luck.
Thank you, Stephanie. I can't wait to help count the country with all of you.
Thank you all. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, end event.